There's been this narrative going around that Perfect Dark, the new game being developed by the Initiative, is in some kind of trouble, and that Xbox is also in trouble because their studio can't make their own game. Well, let's get into what this new partnership with Crystal Dynamics means, and also show that Xbox is not in trouble and that they're actually just doing something extremely different. Let's get into this and let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, make sure to hit that small little bell icon. It helps out the channel a lot. Alright, enough of that. Let's get into this pretty big story when it comes to the Initiative and them partnering with Crystal Dynamics. This was announced last week towards the end of the week. Now, we all know this is very abnormal for a first-party studio from a big publisher to outsource their huge production work of a game to another third-party studio. So when this was announced, the Twitterverse and the gaming world seemed a little in shock. Some people questioned the move, others attacked it, and some were left confused. No matter where you looked or who you talked to, they all had opinions on the matter, and it seemed that almost everyone had a different one. Yet the one that was going around the most is people thought Perfect Dark was in development trouble, and maybe, just maybe, Xbox is going to be in trouble as well. So in this video, I want to tackle the whole situation, give some more information, and let people understand why this is happening. So let's tackle the first opinion, which is Xbox is in trouble and they can't make their own games. This to me is one of the more radical, idiotic takes for this whole thing, because it's obviously not what's happening right now. Xbox has plenty of studios under their belts and now have grown beyond anything we've ever seen in gaming history. In the span of 3 years, they've built and expanded and bought more studios than anyone we've ever seen before. They went from basically 7 studios to 23 studios in that span, and one of those new studios is the Initiative. The main difference with the Initiative is that they were built from the ground up starting in 2018. What people don't understand is that for the last 3 years, they've hired about 60 developers to the studio. And these aren't just some developers to fill out the studio. No, they're high-level people and have some of the best experience in the industry. They were brought into the studio to think of cutting-edge game mechanics. And for the last 3 years, they've been hard at work by not only building the studio, but also making a brand new rebooted game of Perfect Dark with completely new mechanics. Think about that for just a second. They're building the studio, hiring new talent, putting the team together, all the while thinking of new concepts and cutting-edge gameplay mechanics in a game. Do you understand how hard it is to build a completely new studio while building the game at the same time? That's why I think they decided to stay small and keep the 60 people in the studio to make the hard concepts of the game, and then bring in a third-party studio to help fill out those mechanics into a brand new game. And this is something that's very standard in the industry. I'll give some examples of big-name studios in games that have done this before and have done too many things at once. The first one I can think of is the EA and Bad Company. They built that whole Frostbite engine while making that game. It was one of the most challenging aspects of development, and the developers on the team have said they would never do that again. They said it was one of the most difficult times they've had making a game. And that's a whole studio already built, making a game while building an engine. That's insane. The other studio is Sony Santa Monica. They had a small team of about 30 to 40, maybe 50 people on God of War for several years before they brought the game to the huge studio. They had those 30 or 40 people in leadership roles, people to build the combat, mechanics, and story and world. This was the core gameplay loop being built by these people. That's exactly what game developers do. They start off small and get the concept down along with the core gameplay loop. The combat for that game is famous, and it took several years for them to hone that down. Once they had that finished, they brought the whole team of studio of 150 people over to help build the entire game around that core gameplay mechanic. Not to mention, a bunch of other Sony studios helped make it too. As you can see, there's a lot of studios and teams coming together to help build one game. After that, we have Sucker Punch and Ghost of Tsushima, again a studio that got the combat and world building put together by a strong core of 40 or 50 people. They built the core gameplay loop, and then once that was done, they bring the entire studio to help work on the game. The combat and gameplay in Ghost is well known. The stance change, the brutal combat is something that Sucker Punch said took them about 4 years to make. That's a long time. I guarantee that the first several years was dedicated to that core gameplay loop and something that the initiative is currently doing or has already done for the last 3 years. And last, but definitely not least, is the people at Bethesda GameWorks, or better known as Todd Howard's team. We know that for several years, they build a game over the span of 5 years. The first couple of years are a small core group of people building the core gameplay and then bringing the entire studio of 500 people over to build the game around that gameplay. As you can tell, there's a lot of studios that do this, and it's something that's very common. They have a small team of 50 or 60 people building the main game, and then they have that core go to the main contractors or studio to help build it out and flesh it out. This is what the initiative is. They have a very strong core of talented developers who are going to build the main core of that game. So for the last 3 years, they've been working on the game, the gameplay, and the combat, especially the combat. This is something that the developers at the studio have talked about before. They bring up the brutal combat, the physical combat that they wanted to hone in on. So yes, they're working on something very different and wanted extra time to hone that down and execute exactly what they wanted. But the only thing they were missing was a huge 200 plus person studio to fill out their AAA game. They couldn't go internally to another Xbox studio because they're all working on so many games. So they turned to Crystal Dynamics, a well-respected team that has a great relationship with Daryl Gallagher. Which brings me to my next reason, which is relationships. As we all know, Daryl used to be one of the studio heads of Crystal Dynamics. He was a huge reason for the Tomb Raider reboots, which were highly rated games. Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider were some of my favorite action-adventure games last generation. They were well done and were built by Crystal Dynamics. So let's step back and look at the relationship between the studio and Xbox. The first obvious one being is that Daryl is a former lead at the studio and basically ran everything there. It's a huge reason why he was brought into the initiative to build that studio out. He's built new games and rebooted Tomb Raider to great success with this exact studio. Then you look at the connection with Xbox and Crystal Dynamics and you look at Rise of the Tomb Raider. You know how it was a full year exclusive for the Xbox platform and it was met with a lot of backlash with the media. But again, this relationship has been established for a very long time. And now we have Daryl as a studio head at an Xbox studio, and they have this massive game they want to build out. So why not reach out to developers you have a great relationship with to build out your game? That's exactly what's happening right now. They understand each other, respect each other, and have familiar faces on both sides that they trust. Which brings me to my last opinion. Is this weird? Well, a little bit, because this is very different to what other studios across the industry do. Sony just locks down third-party studios and grabs exclusive games or timed exclusive games like we've seen before. Yet internally, they have almost every studio helping each other to finish a game. Ubisoft, as an example, had 11 studios work on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and also Odyssey, but most of those studios are internal. So why is Xbox taking one of their cutting-edge studios and having a third-party studio help make it? Well, it's maybe because Daryl trusts the studio and knows how to work with them. Or maybe it's something else. And this could lead to an even bigger partnership. Maybe something like a buyout or an exclusive understanding like Insomniac Games was for Sony or Playground Games was for Xbox. We just don't know. But all I have to say is that it's a little weird to see this happening because it's something we've never seen before, which if you're paying attention is something that Xbox continues to do around the industry. They're doing things no one is doing or no one has ever done. I mean, look at their history. Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass, buying this many studios like Bethesda, just completely growing their studios out faster than anyone we've seen. Look at what Xbox is doing, and you could tell that they're doing things very differently. But that doesn't mean Xbox or Perfect Dark is in trouble. What it means is that they're establishing a relationship with so many developers around the industry. And in the meantime, they're solving a massive problem, which is needing a huge AAA quality studio to help build out their game. Because let's be real, building a huge studio of 200 plus people while making an entire game is almost impossible. Bringing all those people together who might not have worked together before to make a cutting edge game just sounds like a massive challenge. So why not get a team that's used to working together and are comfortable with each other to help push that development, to help guide that game to what the studio wants it to be? That's my takeaway from this. It's that they help establish relationships, it helps build a AAA game, but most of all, it's something that's standard across the industry. Maybe not to this extent, but it's still something we've all seen before. Let's hope the game comes out great and we get a new experience we've never seen before, because this game does have a lot of hype around it, and I know for a fact it will have a lot of eyes on it when it releases. Let's hope everyone involved puts a great game together, because right now I've been starving to see what the initiative is working on, and I can't wait to see what kind of cutting edge technology and gameplay mechanics they have in store for us. So let's hope all of this is for the best. But enough of what I think about all of this. Tell me what you think about this. Is Xbox and the initiative in trouble? Does this make you worried about Perfect Dark? Do you think this is standard across the industry? Do you trust Crystal Dynamics? Will this lead to more partnerships with Xbox and Square Enix? What other studios do you think Xbox would do this with? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. So right now, I've been playing a bunch of games. I've been jumping on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've been playing Aliens Fireteam. I've been playing so many games, it's kind of overwhelming. And I've been playing Origami 2, this game that came on Game Pass. That's a lot of fun. Oh, and World War Z. That game's also great. But most of all, I've been playing Diablo 2 with my buddies. I played it all weekend, had a blast on it. We were running in with like 4 or 5 people, completely just squatting up and taking out all the demons. Man, I miss that game. It's a nostalgia thing for me. I played it as a kid, so I'm loving it. Plus, I'm rolling Amazon, so it's a lot of fun. But let me know what you're playing. Are you playing something on your Xbox, your PS5, or your PC? I want to know, because that's what we're here for, so talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.